Can you grow lemongrass from the grocery store? Does it need full sun? Does it really repel mosquitoes? And what makes it turn brown in a pot? Today, I'll answer those questions and show you how to grow and harvest lemongrass so it keeps producing. I'm Angela from Growing in the Garden in Mesa, Arizona. For more gardening tips, like, subscribe, and stick around. Let's start with the best time to plant lemongrass. The best time to plant in most areas is after your last frost date, once the weather is warming up. Lemongrass is tropical, so it really takes off when the nights are mild and the days are warm. If you garden in the low desert of Arizona, you have two planting windows. Plant lemongrass in the spring from mid-February through April. You can also plant in the fall in October and November, when the worst heat is past but the soil is still warm. Lemongrass loves light and warmth, but in very hot climates, full sun all day is too much, especially in containers. Give it morning sun, and in extreme heat, give it some afternoon shade. If your plant looks crispy and scorched, even though you're watering, it may not be a watering problem. It may be too much afternoon sun. My lemongrass is on this east-facing wall, and it's done really well there for several years. I just added another one on a north-facing wall, and it's growing well too. Does lemongrass repel mosquitoes? I wish. Lemongrass does have citronella-type compounds, but planting it in your yard, even near your patio, usually won't stop mosquito bites. The repellent effect comes from the oils, and they need to be concentrated to work. Grow lemongrass for cooking and for tea. For fewer mosquitoes, get rid of standing water in your yard. What are the easiest ways to start lemongrass? You can plant lemongrass from transplants, from division, or from a cutting. The easiest method, start with a transplant or a division. Can you grow lemongrass from grocery store stalks? Yes. Choose stalks that are firm and fresh, and try to get them with as much of the base attached as possible. Peel off a layer or two of the outer stalk if it's dry, and then place the base in a glass with just an inch or two of water. Change the water every couple of days, and in a week or two, you should see roots. Once those roots form and you see new leaves sprouting from the center, plant it in soil with a crown just above the surface of the soil. If you're using a transplant, rooted cutting, or a division, here's how to plant it. Lemongrass grows best in well-draining soil that is high in organic matter. If you're planting in the ground, amend the soil with lots of compost before you plant. If you're planting in containers, use a high-quality potting mix. Spacing matters too, because lemongrass can grow large. If you plant it in the ground, give it room to spread and space transplants about 2 feet apart. If you use square foot gardening, you can grow one lemongrass per square foot, but I recommend putting it in the corner because it can take over neighboring squares. One plant is usually plenty for most home gardens. What size pot does lemongrass need? If you want it to grow well in a container, go bigger than you think. Lemongrass grows tall and gets top heavy. Small pots dry out quickly. A self-watering container like this one can work well because it keeps the lemongrass from drying out. And here's what makes lemongrass turn brown in a pot: letting it dry out. A pot that's too small makes that happen fast. How often should you water lemongrass? It does not like to dry out. In the ground, water regularly until it's established, and then keep the soil evenly hydrated. In containers, check more often because pots dry out faster. Check the soil a couple of inches down. If it feels dry, water deeply. If there's still moisture, wait. If you struggle to keep up with watering in the summer, mulch helps a lot, even in containers. It slows evaporation and helps the soil stay evenly hydrated. Lemongrass in the ground probably won't need much fertilizer, but for containers, a monthly feeding with a liquid organic fertilizer can help. Once your plant's growing well and you have stalks about pencil thick or larger, you can start harvesting. How do you harvest lemongrass without killing the plant? Harvest the outer stalks first. Cut individual stalks as close to the ground as possible, and then leave the center growth alone. The center is where new stalks form, so if you protect that center, the plant keeps producing. A good rule is not to take more than about 1/3 of the plant at a time. Once it becomes a large clump, you can also divide it. The best time to divide lemongrass is in the spring after your last frost date. To divide it, cut the stalks back a bit, water it well, and dig up the clump and separate it into sections with roots attached. Reap out the divisions and share extras with friends. Now that you've harvested, let's make sure none of it goes to waste. Which part of lemongrass do you use? For cooking, the tender section near the base is what you want. Remove the tough outer layers and then use the inner core. You can chop it very finely or use several inch pieces to flavor soups and broths, and then remove those pieces before serving. If you pound or bruise the stalk before using it, it releases more flavor. These upper green leaves are excellent for tea. For storage, keep stalks in the fridge for short-term use. For longer storage, chop and freeze them, or freeze whole stalks in a freezer bag. You can also dry the stalks and the leaves and store them in a cool, dry place. Will lemongrass come back every year? It depends. Lemongrass is cold sensitive. In warm winter climates, it's a perennial and regrows from the base. In colder climates, it's often treated like an annual unless you bring it indoors. Here in the low desert, it comes back every year. In March, I cut it back at the base to encourage fresh new growth. If you live where it freezes, grow lemongrass in a pot. Before frost, move that container to a protected spot or indoors. Put it in bright light and water less. It will slow down and go a little bit dormant. So don't expect a lot of new growth, but the goal is to keep it alive until spring. And then move it back outside when temperatures warm up. Lemongrass is one of the easiest perennials to grow here in the low desert. Find a spot, get one planted, and don't forget to use and enjoy it. Want a thriving desert garden? Join my monthly online classes, live or on replay, and get instant access to past classes and journals. I can actually be on camera. This is like using AI. I feel like I'm gonna burp.